Bart Scott is on record believing Aaron Rodgers can lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to a playoff win. But if the team falls short of that mark for another season, Mike Tomlin's seat should become warm. Monday, Scott suggested the organization parting with Tomlin may be the best outcome if 2025 ends like all other recent seasons. Mike Tomlin's been there 18 years, Scott said on ESPN's Get Up. He hasn't won a playoff game in 8 seasons, and it's getting stale. You talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, we think about continuity and consistency. You think about Bill Cowher being there for, I believe, 15 seasons. Chuck Noll being there for 23, and Tomlin's been there 18. Sometimes, you just need a change. It could be good for both sides if the season doesn't go well. Under Tomlin, the Steelers started hot. Pittsburgh won its 6th and most recent Super Bowl in his 2nd season and returned to the big game 2 years later. For years into his coaching tenure, and Tomlin sported an impressive 5-2 playoff record. Everything since has been sour. Since 2011, Pittsburgh is just 3-9 in the postseason under Tomlin and losers of the team's last 6 tries. For the first time in his tenure, Tomlin isn't automatically beloved by the national media. He's now under the microscope with prominent insiders like NFL Network's Tom Pelissero floating the idea Tomlin is year to year, though his explanation felt faulty. Still, Tomlin is no longer a universally accepted top 5 head coach whose perception is viewed through the team's lack of recent success and not the Super Bowl Tomlin earned early in his career. While Scott is suggesting change, a playoff victory will hush all that talk, including his own. You add a player like Aaron Rodgers, you have a shot, he said. I think a playoff win kind of makes Tomlin secure. Winning a wild card game isn't Pittsburgh's ultimate goal, but it would take a weight off the organization's shoulders. The line of haven't won a playoff game in years goes away and would become tangible proof of season progression. It would sell the Steelers' case of why they continue to push to win now and would take them out of neutral, the football purgatory they've found themselves in. Former Pittsburgh Steelers star receiver Antonio Brown is facing an arrest warrant for attempted murder. As usual, he has a peculiar response and is placing blame elsewhere. Last week, Miami police issued the warrant on a charge of second-degree attempted murder with a firearm for Brown in connection with a May 17th incident at a boxing event. The warrant requests that Brown post a $10,000 bond and be placed on house arrest until trial. Police, however, say Brown left the U.S. after the incident and is currently in the Middle East or Asia. The warrant states that, during a fight at the event, Brown grabbed a security guard's gun and shot at Zulkarnain Kwame Nantambu. Brown then allegedly chased after Nantambu and fired 2 shots, according to the warrant. Nantambu ducked after hearing the first shot and was not hit. Police arrived and interviewed several people, including Brown, but they could not locate a victim and no arrests were made. Shortly after the incident, Brown posted on social media, claiming he was jumped by multiple individuals who tried to steal my jewelry and cause physical harm to me. Brown wrote, I went home that night and was not arrested. Now that police have investigated the incident, they believe it was Brown who fired the shots. But during a weekend of erratic social media posts, Brown posted an anti-media quote from Malcolm X. How TF you go from being victimized unto an attempt to murder you, see they control the media, Brown said in part of a post that blames the situation on racism. Brown, 36, played 9 seasons for the Steelers, becoming one of the NFL's most dominant wide receivers and twice leading the league in receiving yards. He won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but last played in 2021 when he took off his shirt and ran off the field in the middle of a game against the New York Jets. So far, Allen Lazard's career has been tied in lockstep with new Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Lazard spent his first 5 years in Green Bay catching passes from Rodgers. Then, in anticipation of a trade that would send Rodgers to the Jets, Lazard headed to New York as a free agent. With Rodgers now in Pittsburgh, there's certainly a door open that could reunite Lazard with Rodgers once again. Originally signing with the Jaguars after going undrafted out of Iowa State in 2018, Lazard failed to make Jacksonville's 53-man roster but signed to the team's practice squad. Late in December of his rookie year, though, Green Bay signed him off the Jaguars' P squad as they saw a number of injuries to their own receiving core. While he didn't contribute much that season, he found his home of the next 4 years. While Lazard was never a favorite target of Rodgers in Green Bay, a role rightly reserved for Davante Adams, he had a consistent role in the offense. In his second and third seasons, he contributed an average of 34 receptions for 464 yards and 3 touchdowns. He became more of a red zone target in 2021, logging 40 catches for 513 yards and a career-high 8 touchdowns, before putting up a career year in 2022 with 60 catches, 788 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Later rumors would indicate that following that final season in Green Bay, Lazard and Rodgers often spoke of playing in New York together. In fact, Lazard took the initiative to reach out to the Jets about the free agent deal he would eventually sign. Lazard's first year in New York became essentially a wasted season, though, when Rodgers tore his Achilles tendon in the season opener. With Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle throwing to him, he only logged 23 receptions for 311 yards and a single touchdown. He improved last year, with Rodgers back on the field, but returned to his average totals with 37 catches for 530 yards and 6 touchdowns. With Rodgers no longer in New York, Lazard's current role seems uncertain. Adams departed from New York this offseason, seemingly giving Lazard a shot to be WR2. Unfortunately, according Rich Cimini of ESPN, Lazard is losing the WR2 battle to free agent addition Josh Reynolds. Per Cimini, Reynolds is the clear-cut favorite to land the job. There was a time at which it seemed Lazard was certainly not long for New York. Early in the offseason, rumors came out that the Jets were likely to release him in the offseason, and a couple weeks later, the team gave him permission to seek a trade. Ultimately, the team opted to retain Lazard's services, restructuring his contract to solidify the deal. Despite this renewed commitment, Rodgers' Pittsburgh signing immediately reignited rumors of a trade that would send Lazard to the Steelers. Given that cutting or trading Lazard before June 1st would have resulted in $6.55 million of dead money, with him still taking up $1.94 million in cap space, it starts to make sense that Lazard has been kept around to this point, but a post-June 1 trade would now leave New York with only $2.18 million in dead money, while relieving $2.43 million in cap space. Cimini still thinks that it would be unlikely that the Jets would trade Lazard away. If they do, though, and Cimini notes here that that's a big if, New York likely wouldn't do so until the end of the preseason. The Jets have a lot of new pieces in their offense, and they'll need to make sure they're comfortable with their depth at wide receiver before agreeing to send Lazard away.